I'm really just here to introduce a brilliant man, a funny man, and a naughty man. Russell Brand, everybody.
Good evening. Good evening. I suppose good evening is not an idiom that it's easy to elicit a passionate response from. Like, it's not like, yeah! It don't lend itself to emphatic responses. Good evening. Yes, it is a very pleasant evening, particularly for the time of year. It's interesting when I do stuff for David Lynch's Foundation because of the sort of corollary, I suppose, and connection between meditation and serenity. And like I'm normally preparing to come out like, oh, what's going to happen? Jesus Christ! Ah! I'm not prepared! But thankfully, I have the tools of Transcendental Meditation to access a wonderful world. I'll talk about that stuff like in a little bit. Like I will talk to you about the nature of TM and the spiritual element of it, and the having access to a system that connects me, I think, to all of creation and all of creativity, and it makes a mockery of subjectivity, makes me realise that we are all one. I'll talk about that in a bit. Let's not get bogged down in it now. Let's ease into it. Perhaps you'd like to compliment me on these trousers. There are children here, aren't there? What? Someone said no children. What do you mean? What is this? That was a peculiar response. Where are we? Hamlin? The Pied Piper of... Ellen mentioned, of course, my affection for TM in her brief précis on Russell Month on her show. It made me think of the person I'd most like to see talking about TM would be Russell Crowe, I think. Oh yeah, I found an inner peace within myself. Get out of my room or I'll smash you with a telephone. We've got to get to him. Me and Russell Simmons have got to do a Russell intervention. I love him though, Russell Crowe, actually. I met him once at an intersection. I was coming down a hill. That is what happened. That's not even humorous. Coming down a hill, there was an intersection, and at the intersection I see Russell Crowe, and he was wearing what I would describe as the kind of clothes one might wear if you'd just come out of bed and not really planned an outfit. He were ambling shambolically, is how I'd describe it. He were ambling shambolically at the intersection. I see him, and I was sat next to my mate, and I was driving. I'm not good at driving, I drive erratically. I looked over, and I go to my mate, well, that's Russell Crowe. And Russell Crowe turned to see me mouthing through the windscreen. He see that happen. And he sort of came over. All right, mate. And like a big Russell Crowe arm sort of came through the window. Like that. Like it was being done by Andy Serkis. Like Andy Serkis does King Kong, doesn't he? Andy Serkis is the guy that they do all the digital stuff with for green screen things. He's King Kong, he's all of the dinosaurs, he's Gollum, he's everyone. Well, the arm came through like an avatar from another reality. Right through my window. All right, mate. Oh, hello, Russell Crowe, I said, and I was enjoying the moment because that's Russell Crowe. I'm also called Russell. What are we going to talk about, I'm wondering? In this unique moment, in an arbitrary cosmos, randomly generating situations, perpetually, endless, limitless, infinite possibilities, as we guide our way through, zigzagging our jagged way through life, clashing into moments. Over to you, Russell. Kanye West has done a song where he name checks the both of us while addressing Russell Simmons. Ah, thank you, Russell. I've enjoyed this moment, but the lights have changed. Although I don't like to be bound too much by them different coloured lights and all the other rules of the road, because they are, I find, a little bit restrictive. It stops me being in my bacchanalian inner self, because there's too much rigidity to the rules of the road. Here's a tip. You know, sometimes there's a traffic jam. There's these two roads, but in the middle of road, there's a yellow bit, right, and then another yellow bit. No one's in that bit. I call that the Russell Road. Easier. Let's talk for a moment briefly about Transcendental Meditation now. The reason I love David Lynch very much, and it's difficult to say is because he's sort of there. Maybe it feels slightly disingenuous, but I legitimately do love David. But let's talk about him in the context of this work. The reason I love him is because, right, he's the most obvious example of genius that I've ever encountered. His sense of childlike wonder at all things. I've been around his house a couple of times. He's normally doing something that you would expect a Boy Scout to be doing. Hey, Russell, I'm making a sculpture from cheese. Or something like that, honestly. I'm making a lamp from the stuff from Jurassic Park that the bug is found in. Amber, I think. Once, I went there, he was studying a dead thing. Hey, look at that, watching this pigeon decay. Have you noticed the beauty of the cycle of life? We are in Los Angeles, of course, so we're living amidst the subterfuge. We're trudging about in all this ludicrous nonsense, aren't we? We're entrenched in it. Through Transcendental Meditation, you get access to another dimension that's consistently and constantly there for you. In moments of doubt, when you feel connected constantly to the material world, it's beautiful to know that we have access to something else more real, uber real, actuality, a reality beyond our reality, a reality that isn't moderated by our media, a reality that is, because media, like you would think, I'm not a Latin scholar, but you'd think the media would mean something like medium or mediate. It would be derived from that. So they should just be like a tunnel giving us information. Not like Fox News doesn't behave according to that dictum. Fox News lacquers information with hatred on its way to you, right? It's not, yes, thank you. Also, I have been watching Fox News for hours now, and I have not seen one story about foxes. It's usually trying to make me anxious about immigration. Be careful! There are immigrants! Oh, why are they so worried about immigrants? An immigrant is just someone who used to be somewhere else. Hey, have you always been there? No, I was over there for a while. Ah! Get back over to where you originally were! To make us frightened and full of hate. They spray the information with hatred as it passes towards our eyes, with the same louche aplomb as that riot police officer spraying the eyes of children during those recent protests. Did you see that, when he pepper sprayed those children in the eyes? Of course, you know, I'm against human rights atrocities, as such as that was. But, if you are going to do a human rights atrocity, it's nice to do it with an incredible sense of elan. He looked like he was wandering down a Parisian catwalk. So of no regard for consequence. That's going into children's eyes. That's like how Karl Lagerfeld would behave at a riot. Remarkable, really. Because he didn't care that the pepper spray was going into the faces of young children. If you can divorce yourself from consequence, the world is a much easier place to live in. If you don't care that your actions hurt people, life's probably like some amusement park. Let's not go down that road. So, I'm only really here to generate goodwill. And what was the thing I was... Like, in case you sort of think, oh, some of the things he's saying are a bit weird. These are, how is that helping us? You must remember that I'm doing this for free. In a way, I'm sort of doing you a favour. Like, if I took you to the airport and you didn't really like my driving, which you wouldn't, you couldn't go, oh, I don't like the nature of this favour. It's not exactly how I want it. Favour! Good evening. I suppose good evening is not an idiom that it's easy to elicit a passionate response from. Like, it's not like, yeah! It's not, it don't lend itself to emphatic responses. Good evening. Yes, it is a very I'm not prepared! But thankfully, I have the tools of Transcendental Meditation to access a wonderful world. I'll talk about that stuff like in a little bit. Like, I will talk to you about the nature of TM and the spiritual element of it, and the having access to a system that connects me, I think, to all of creation and all of creativity, and it makes a mockery of subjectivity, makes me realize that we are all one. I'll talk about that in a bit. Let's not get bogged down in it now. Let's ease into it. Perhaps you'd like to compliment me on these trousers. There are children here, aren't there? It's an evening, particularly for the time of year. It's interesting when I do stuff for David Lynch's TM Foundation, because of the sort of corollary, I suppose, and connection between meditation and serenity. And like I'm normally preparing to come out like, oh, what's going to happen? Jesus Christ! Ah!
I'm really just here to introduce a brilliant, brilliant man, a funny man, and a naughty man. Russell Brand, everybody.
Good evening.